In science class, we learn many things. However, how much of that do we actually use? To find out, I'm going to be looking at a few scientific topics, starting out with the scientific method. So let's say you're trying to figure out what ingredients go into making the tastiest salsa at home. Well, you can use the scientific method to make this process a lot quicker and easier. So first, you would start out by observing and asking a question. This is when you will observe, like, hey, when I spilled some cilantro in here, it made it taste a little bit better and stuff like that. And then afterwards, you would research the topic, in which case you would like go on Google and try and research what goes into making the tastiest salsa and see if anyone has already solved this problem before. And then after that, you can gather information that might help you in your experiments. After that, you form a hypothesis. In this case, it would be, if I add cilantro and carrots to my salsa, then will my salsa taste better? Then after that, you would test it with an experiment and then analyze the data and come to a conclusion. So here you start out, can I make a better salsa? You would probably Google it and then see that people say they like their salsa with cilantro and carrots. And then after that, you would move on to an experiment with 4 different salsa bowls. One that's the control that you haven't added any new ingredients to, one with carrots and one with cilantro, and one that's carrots and cilantro. And then you'll test each one and see which one tastes the best, and that'll be your conclusion. Now we know that we do indeed use the scientific method in our real lives. Next up is measurement. In science class, we learn how to take precise and accurate measurements. And in real life, we do indeed use this quite often. Let's say your mom texts you and asks, hey, how long is your Chromebook? I need to know that measurement so that I can buy a case for it. Well, you need to be able to measure it and say, oh, it's 11 inches, or convert that into metric or whatever. That is a very useful skill and one that you will constantly use in your everyday life. Next up is the engineering design process, which is used when you are trying to design something. It starts out similar to the scientific method by asking a question and then following that up by researching the topic. Then after that, you think of possible solutions to the problem, and then you plan out, you make a blueprint, you create a prototype, you test out your prototype, and then you improve your prototype and eventually maybe create a final product. Where this is very useful in real life, let's say, for example, you are trying to create a fence to try and keep coyotes out of your yard. Then the engineering design process will be very useful to help you structure yourself in designing the fence. In the fence example, you would start out by asking a question. Let's say, for example, my current fence, the coyotes just dig straight under it, so how can I create a new fence that will not have that problem? After that, you will research it, maybe Google like how to keep coyotes out of your yard, different fence designs that might help. You can go to Ace Hardware and look at some already existing fence designs. And then after that, you will come up with ideas to try and help this problem. Maybe the fences go a little bit deeper into the ground, and you will design that. You'll plan out, make a little blueprint for it. And then after that, you will create your prototype fence, maybe put it in a small part of your yard, and then test it out by seeing if the coyotes can dig under it. And if they can, then you improve it. And if they can't, then that will be your final product, and you will deploy that throughout your entire yard, and problem solved. Next up is graphing. I have talked to many adults, and all of them say that they have really never used graphing in their personal lives. However, most jobs do require you to make graphs to demonstrate your sales numbers for that quarter, or whatever your job requires. So while on the surface it may seem like graphs are kind of useless, it depends on your job, because most jobs will most definitely make use of graphs, and learning how to make graphs in science class is very useful depending on your job. And lastly, we have research. Now, research is probably, out of all these topics, the one that you will use the most in your life, whether that be your personal life or your job life. So, research includes being able to identify what is a reliable source, and that is very useful for today, getting your news on current world events or stuff like that. You need to know reliable sources. That is very important for every person on the planet to know what is a reliable source and what is not a reliable source. And also, research is just a very good skill to have in general, because knowing when you Google something, what articles to click on and what not to, what might not give some good information, that is a very important skill that will not only save you a lot of time and effort, but it will also make you sound a lot smarter when you're talking with your friends. Thank you, science class. And that is the end of the video. No escape room.